Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are down to our last two monologues for real this time in the second Maiden's tragedy, and we get to hear from Govianus today in Act 5, Scene 2. Now remember, Govianus came in disguised as a sort of painter because the tyrant king wanted somebody to paint Lady's face so that she would look more alive, because she's dead and she's dressed all in black and she's preserved in honey. How well that's preserving her, I don't exactly know. But anyway, Govianus came in, and while he was begrudgingly painting her face, he put poison on her lips. And then the tyrant king sees her and he's like, oh my goodness, it almost looks like she's warm again. And he goes over and starts talking to her body like he's trying to woo her or charm her or something like that. And he kisses her and he's like, what is, something smells weird. And Govianus is like, yeah, maybe it's the paint that I use. And the tyrant king's like, is it old? And Govianus is like, no, it's just the best poison that I could buy. And he takes off his disguise and reveals himself as Govianus. And in yesterday's monologue, he was laying into the tyrant king for what an abhorrent thing this is that the tyrant king did to Lady, to her body, how he's not letting her rest, how nobody's ever done anything this disgusting ever. And the tyrant king was like, so do you know who I am? Like, I could doom you with a fate beyond the Frenchman's tortures, is what he says, still trying to tout his power and his clout and all of these things. And Govianus responds by saying, I smile at thee. Draw all the death that ever mankind suffered unto one head to help thine own invention, and make my end as rare as this thy sin, and full as fearful to the eyes of women. My spirit shall fly singing to his lodging in midst of that rough weather. Doom me, tyrant. Had I feared death, I'd never appeared noble to seal this act upon me, which e'en honors me unto my mistress' spirit. It loves me for it. I told my heart 'twould prove destruction to it, who, hearing 'twas for her, charged me to do it. So this is a long and fancy way of saying, I'm not afraid of you, you teeny tiny little puny man. He's like, you know what? You could take all the worst things in the world and pile them on me and make me look worse than whatever it is that you're doing here, and my spirit would still very gladly fly to heaven because I killed you for doing this to her. He was like, I made peace with myself when my heart knew that I was killing you for her sake. My heart said, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and go through with it. Go ahead and kill this king. And the tyrant king tries to make some noise and whatever, but the ghost of Lady enters, and the ghost of Lady is dressed like Lady. And Govianus turns and he's so happy to see her. He's like, I'm so glad to see you, and you can rest now because we're going to put you back in your monument because he's done. Your abuser is done for. And she blesses Govianus, and then she leaves. And the tyrant king, he's dying now. He kissed her poisoned lips, so he's dying. He's, sort of grasping at whatever he can. He's calling for help, and a bunch of noblemen come running in, including Memphonius, and he's like, help me. And they're like, no, not so much. Not really gonna jump in there. And he's like, your king is poisoned. And Memphonius is like, yay for that. And so the tyrant king still he tries to get the nobles to seize Govianus because he thinks he still has power, but they don't. And Helvetius comes in, and the tyrant king turns to Helvetius. He's like, you seize him and arrest him, like help your king. But Helvetius and Memphonius both together are both sort of like, long live King Govianus, like down with the tyrant king. And there's this great big flourish, and the tyrant king says, that thunder strikes me dead. And he dies. So, ding dong, the tyrant king is dead at this point. So Govianus then turns, and in a very heartfelt manner, he thanks Helvetius and Memphonius for doing what they did, for helping, for not helping the tyrant king, for, you know, helping raise Govianus back to his original status as king. And the two of them are both kind of like, you know, he got so weird, and I know that we were aligned with him at one point, but he was like, he really got tyrannous and monstrous, and we were kind of scared of him at the end there, and it made us like actually hate him and everything. And Govianus responds to that with a monologue that we will hear tomorrow as we wrap up this play. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.